No, really, we're here to talk about the last frontier. I know this audience is very agency-oriented, that's fair to say. And there's a lot of discussion among agencies about national advertisers targeting locally and regional advertisers targeting locally. But what we do really focus on the local opportunity. It's huge. I mean, there's 16 million small businesses in the United States that advertise. And altogether, the entire local pie is about $133 billion. So we're talking about the last frontier, right? And why is it the last frontier? Well, it's damn hard, isn't it? Selling to local businesses is never easy, even though the opportunity is fairly obvious. So that's what we're going to talk about, a reality check today about what local businesses actually do, where we think they're going, and how we might all profit from working with them. So just a couple of words about the company I work for, BIA Kelsey. I think we're known as being kind of the local research authority. We've been talking to thousands of small businesses over the years, in fact, the last 13 years, tracking their transition from traditional media to all the new kinds of online media and now mobile as well. So that's given us a lot of insight into what's going on, from a local business perspective. In addition to this local commerce monitor, which is our discussion, the way we describe our local research, we also have interesting conferences on really hot topics. Like in July, we'll be talking about the really interesting deal a day space, just like Groupon was talking about at lunch. So, if you want more information about how to participate in our events, that's great, or our research, let me know. So, here's the slide of where we are today with all the entire pie of local spending. It's what we're seeing here more than anything is, yeah, a lot of us are online-centric. Is that fair to say about this room? I think it's probably fair to say. But traditional media still rules. And what I really liked about what Sam Sebastian said just now from Google, he's saying, TV is a perfect complement to everything we're doing at Google. And I think that's where we are with newspapers and Yellow Pages and others. It's really about how to complement existing media, and that's the right way to approach it. So we'll talk about traditional media first, and then we'll go to interactive. Don't lose patience. So one thing that we find that I always think is very interesting, the largest advertisers get the biggest bang for their buck. They get more of a viral effect from advertising in more places and spending more money, and they get better results for their dollars. The smallest advertisers tend to place little bets, and they tend to have smaller returns. Well, that's just common sense, isn't it? But it goes to show the smallest advertisers don't get that viral effect that we can get from a 360 view of advertising generally. So the guys that are medium-sized advertisers, like realtors and restaurants, and the largest local advertisers that traditional media guys have gone after, like hospitals and car dealerships and educational institutions, those are the guys that we've always targeted. The question is, how do you get to the small ones if you're a publisher? That's what we're thinking about. The volume is tremendous. If you can get a hold of 16 million advertisers, you can do really, really well. But for now, it's not as clear how you're going to do it. What we're seeing here is that the total small business spends about $2,000 a year on advertising. That's including the whole range of small businesses. And it shouldn't surprise you if we do a breakout by super vertical. Different types of small businesses are spending different kinds of money. Financial services are among the most sophisticated, and they spend the most money on advertising. And remember, this is the whole pie. So, in terms of how much of that is online, what would be your guess? Is 22% about right, what you think that they would spend online? That's what we think. And pro services are leading the way for the percentage of online spending. They're relying more on online media than traditional media. They're more sophisticated, they're really paying attention. I think that's a very interesting data point. So, this is what I find especially stimulating. It used to be in the old days, you say, okay, I'm a small business, I'm a taxidermist, I'm a undertaker, whatever, I'm going to put all my money in the Yellow Pages, that's my marketing budget. Today, Nobody has that luxury, and they shouldn't want to either. But you know, look at this. The average small business, the average, is using about 4.6 different types of media channels. And it's really interesting. What we've done here is juxtapose it against consumers. When consumers are shopping, they're using almost 8 different sources, typically. This is for everything. They might go to coupons, they may use a directory, they may use search. I mean, 8 different sources. The question, if you're an advertising publisher, is who gets the credit for converting you into a customer? It's really a tough question. That's a dilemma for the entire small business. So let's now talk about the interactive marketplace. This is data from last year. About $30 billion a year is spent overall on the U.S. interactive marketplace. The real driver is search, about 44% of all spending. I don't think this surprises anybody. 2013, well, we're doing some forecasting. $59 billion, pretty rapid growth. And we think that search will rise only slightly on a percentage basis. So it's becoming a more complex environment. And we all know that it's no longer a matter of just like we don't depend on yellow pages if you're a service industry. You no longer just depend on, you know, AdWords as your only thing. You're getting more and more sophisticated in dealing with lots of different channels based on the targeting that you're hoping to do. Something to think about. I always think, well, I call this presentation a reality check. Let's just remember, there are a lot of small businesses out there that have done very well for a number of years. They need to be convinced that there's a reason to go online. It's not the other way around, unless they're trying to impress their children or their grandchildren. The use of social media is extremely widespread, and this really surprised me personally. What we saw is, when we asked them, 48% of small businesses somehow or other interact with Facebook. If you'd asked me, I would have said maybe 30%, maybe 27%. I think that this data is maybe a little bit exaggerated. We asked the wrong question. We should have said specifically, how do you use Facebook? But the fact that there's 48% that believe they have some type of business relationship with Facebook is really amazing. And it tells you about the way things are changing. Email gets 43%. Blogs, 22%. Twitter, 19%. I just love this stuff. So, here we go again. The age of the business, just like I said before, really depends on what their usage of Twitter would be versus Yellow Pages. We think of Twitter as being the hot new medium and Yellow Pages being something that maybe is beginning to decline. The longer they've been in business, the more they'll be relying on Yellow Pages. And then the reverse is the truth with Twitter. But you know, the overall trend, they're all catching up to each other. Everybody's using this stuff. It's not really a revolution so much as an integration. So, we're also looking at how many small businesses are using SEO. Well, the overall trend is 43% are using SEO. And we see, once again, if we do a super vertical breakout of financial services, home and trade services, and professional services, slightly different amounts based on the sophistication of the industry and what their needs are. Well, 43%, that's very sizable. In SEM, paid search, the right-hand side, non-organic, 28%. And I find that interesting, too. Is that something that's going to be growing? I think that it's a combination. It's part of a combination buy with so many different types of advertising channels that are out there. All of us are seeing it happen at the same time. I bet this room would be very much in agreement with that. So let's just talk about mobile as well. You know, I think several times today we've heard that mobile is really the future for so much of what we're doing in terms of, you know, targeted advertising, being able to hit people locally. As they're walking down the street, they can get that cheap deal at lunchtime if you're doing Groupon now, or Living Social, walk-in deals, things like that. Google offers is largely dependent on it. Mobile is no doubt about it. It's extremely important. I love any statistic that I find about the use of smartphones and how it impacts the way that we're doing things. So location targeting is the real key for mobile advertising. It's getting bigger and bigger. But, you know, the truth is, even though you can do a lot of geo-targeting with local, it's not really that locally oriented today. The majority of the spend on mobile, brand advertisers and agencies, shouldn't surprise anybody. But you know, as you have better geo-targeting for national brands and more adoption by small businesses, once again, our focus on small business, we do expect local to be extremely important for mobile, and that's why we're seeing some of the traditional media channels really beginning to think, what can we do to really make mobile our channel? We don't have any answers for that, but there's always all these different task forces. If you talk to the different media associations, how can we make mobile our channel? So, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Like I said, we all identify mobile and its importance. We all have seen, as Sam Sebastian pointed out, the importance of people with smartphones walking down the aisle at Christmas time and saying, this is what I want to do for research. When we talk to small businesses, most of them really don't have a clue how to use it. There's going to be a lot of education that's involved here. You really have to prove the value for all these people. And it's also hard to do. They think it's hard to do. They need help to figure this out. So I don't know if that surprises anybody, but mobile is something we've identified, but it isn't working yet. So that's one of our challenges as an industry. So here's a summary of the basic findings. Small businesses are spending more on more channels, and it's not just traditional media. We all know that. That's not news. Younger small businesses have been faster to embrace online, but it's not cool anymore. Everybody's going there, and don't be surprised if the pizza parlor that's been in business 50 years, if they suddenly have a good Twitter follow me account. Social media is a big part of this, and we're really watching carefully to see whether social media is going to have an impact on how much money small businesses spend. We actually think that some of the free applications involved with social media, you know, updating your web page and things like that, might actually cut into how much money small businesses are spending. We're not sure whether it's going to have a greater impact on small business spend or a lesser impact. So that's extremely interesting to us. You know, small businesses have not been that effectively targeted by some of the horizontal media in the past. I was talking with a friend of mine who owns a garden center, and he said, you know, none of his friends would ever think of advertising in the Yellow Pages. Why would they? You know, they don't know the latest brand of the roses. They don't know the latest type of cactuses. They don't have any of the information that would make it appealing on a vertical basis to advertise in the Yellow Pages. But he thought, maybe I can do something with vertical search. Maybe that's an opportunity for us. And I think verticalization of all these things is very important for understanding how to reach small businesses. And that's what so much of this is about. And then finally, mobile is seen as synonymous with local. It's going to play a role in SMB marketing. But the real question is it like boujade, which is a friend of mine likes to say, boujade. Has anyone heard that term before? It's of the future, and it always will be. That's not mobile. Mobile's around the corner, and it's going to be very important. So that's my 2 cents.